In today's lesson, we're going to learn about how to do wrist and arm vibrato. Welcome back. Welcome to the studio. My name is Cassie and I'm a professional violist and teaching artist. I hope that these lessons will serve as a guide for the beginner violist or even those of you who are a little bit more advanced. In today's video, we're going to talk about vibrato. Now there's actually 3 types of vibrato: finger, wrist, and arm. As violists, we're going to be using arm vibrato. It's a wider, richer sound, but we also need to know how to do the other 2, just in case. So before we get to our instruments, I'm going to do an exercise on my shoulder. So I'm going to take my left hand, and I'm going to pretend like I'm in playing position, so that nice, round, relaxed, curved shape. And I'm just going to gently tap on my shoulder. Now notice I'm using my whole forearm to do this. I could do that to practice arm vibrato, or I can isolate my wrist, so it's kind of like you're throwing a ball at yourself, which you would never want to do. But you're going to do that same motion on your shoulder. You're just isolating your wrist to do that. So wrist vibrato practice, arm vibrato practice. So now that we've got that motion established, we're going to talk about how to do top taps. So I'm going to go to playing position, and I'm going to hold my instrument on the lower back just to keep it extra secure. And it's a very similar motion, but I'm going to keep my thumb planted on the bottom side of the neck. And I'm using my forearm to tap on the instrument. Notice again that it's the whole forearm. It's not just your wrist that's flapping, it's your whole forearm. So these are some top taps. And then we can transition that into shuttling, which is my preferred method for teaching. Most students are able to get vibrato doing this. So for this motion, we're going to need a tissue. Hopefully it's an unused tissue. So now I've got my tissue. I'm going to go back into playing position, and I'm going to lay the tissue over the fingerboard and then go to playing position. And this just helps my fingers slide on top of the string. So now I'm going to shuttle from first position up to where my palm touches the instrument. You don't want to do that too forcefully because you can kind of jam your instrument into your neck. We're going to go back and forth, making sure that our fingers are on the tips and that we're just gliding on top of the string. It should feel like ice skating. So this is a very big motion that we're making, and notice again, it's my whole forearm. It's not my wrist that's making this motion, it's your whole forearm. So I'm making this big motion, and I'm going to slowly approach first position. And then I'm just going to hover over where that third finger note would be. So that's step 1 for shuttling. If I take my tissue away, the goal is to do that same motion, gliding on top of the string. Your thumb is not grabbing and you're not doing it with your wrist, it's your whole forearm again. And we're going to just try it a little bit faster, still hovering over where that third finger would go down. Once you feel like you're comfortable with that motion, you can very slowly sink your finger into the string. So imagine that you're squishing a marshmallow. We don't want a lot of finger weight here because that impedes the motion. So again, the shuttle into the smaller distance, and then slowly squeeze into the marshmallow. So that is arm vibrato. Now we're going to talk about wrist vibrato, which is a very similar idea. We're still going to shuttle, but we're going to shuttle in a more compact space. So my thumb, my left thumb, is going to move less than it did in the first shuttling example that we had. I'm going to take my wrist and go from, I'm on the D string, from G to G sharp with just my wrist. And if it helps, you can isolate by holding your forearm. G to G sharp. And again, I'm not pressing into the string, I'm gliding on top of it. I'm trying to make that motion a little bit faster until I slowly sink into the string. And you can see in wrist vibrato, your wrist moves, but your forearm is stationary. In arm vibrato, your forearm is a little bit more involved. So that again is shifting, making those little micro shifts. Your thumb is planted and you're gliding on top of the string until you slowly sink into the marshmallow. Now you can do this with every finger. For me, third finger is easiest. Maybe for you, first finger is easiest, so experiment to see which finger is easier for you. We didn't talk about finger vibrato because we rarely use that, but if you want to practice finger vibrato, it's a similar thing. You can kind of hold your palm if you can reach, and we just want that finger to wiggle ever so slightly. So I don't touch on that one because it's less used, so we want to establish the arm and the wrist vibrato first, and once we're comfortable with those, we can start experimenting with finger vibrato. So I hope those were helpful. I hope at least one of those methods works for you. Can you comment down below which one you found most useful? Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys are having a wonderful time practicing, and I'll see you at our next lesson.